This last week, I had a unique opportunity. I was going to lunch with a Christian businessman in our city and another one from our church, Christian businessman. And he said, hey, Paul, there's been a change of plans, and I don't know if you're okay with it, but he said, I got us an opportunity to go and shake hands and pray for, or let him know that we're praying for him, Donald Trump and Sarah Palin. He said, if you'd like to come, there's an opportunity there. And I thought about it. Hold on just one second. I thought about it. Because I know that anytime you go and pray for anybody or shake anybody's hand, it could send a message to everybody. And I want to be careful to just say, first of all, I'm not endorsing any candidates. I won't tell you who to vote for or who I'm voting for. But I will tell you this, what I'm going to tell you today. I will never turn down an opportunity to pray for any person. I'll never turn down an opportunity to show the love of God to any person. Rich or poor, gay or straight, Republican, Democrat, Libertarian, left or right, we are all precious in His sight. Church, you need to know this year, can we just give God praise right now? We're called to love people the way that Jesus has loved us. So I took the opportunity. I shook his hand, told him, we're praying for you. He said, thank you, I need that. Shook Sarah Palin's hand. And you know, I thought about it. I would love to shake hands with and pray for any candidate, because I think all candidates need prayer. I think right now our nation most of all needs prayer. And no matter who's going to get in office, we need to pray that whoever it is, they're led by the Lord and that their convictions are from the Bible so that our nation can get back on track, because America needs it. And don't tell me the church doesn't belong in this realm of praying for politics. We absolutely belong in the realm of praying for our politicians and praying for our nation. At the same time, I'm not going to wait for the White House to bring revival to our nation. It starts with us, church. So I posted this picture of praying for him, and it stirred up a wild fire of back and forth, people who didn't like it, didn't agree with it, people who misunderstood my motives, and it turned into a lot of strife. And as I was praying about it, I just felt peace in my heart, peace in my heart. I was going to take the picture down, but here's what God spoke to me. I'm not intimidated by what people say. I'm not living by the fear of man, all right? But I am living under the fear of God. And so when I felt the peace from God to do it, I did. But here's what I will say is, you know, there could be pictures of me praying for any person. I remember seeing a pastor praying for someone in our nation who was very disliked by a lot of people. And he caught a lot of flack for praying for that person. A prayer does not mean you agree with every single thing a person says, or every single thing a person does, or every single thing a person votes for. You can still love people that you disagree with. You can still pray for people that you disagree with. And you should love and pray for people that you disagree with, church. This is Christianity. We are Christians before we are anything else. You and I are a Christian before whatever political party you fall in. So let's put our faith ahead of our politics. Between now and November the 8th, let's avoid the election infection. Let's be careful that we don't get pulled into this infectious disease of constantly getting angry and arguing with all the people that we disagree with. You can love family members in your family that are voting on the other side of the party. You can pray for people that you disagree with. They need it. They need it. So real quickly, 3 things, just a quick commercial. 3 things to avoid the election infection. Number 1, and this was inspired by a pastor, Andy Stanley, and I kind of wrote down some of the stuff he said, but I wrote down some stuff that I learned from my experience. Number 1, never give away your influence unnecessarily. The Bible says that we are the light of the world. We're a city on a hill. We're the salt of the earth, which means that we're called to influence our world. We're called not just to influence America, but the entire world. Don't give away influence in an unnecessary way. You can still vote, but you don't have to get into angry arguments with people that you disagree with. Ultimately, our opinions don't change the nation, but our votes do. So go up to the polls, vote when it's time to vote. But when you get into an argument, no relationship is worth losing over an opinion between politics. You don't want to burn a bridge that you might need to cross one day. When I was in college, I got into an argument with a guy who just saw totally different than me on a political issue. And instead of ending the argument and saying, hey, let's just agree to disagree, let's walk in love, we can still be friends, I allowed the argument to escalate, and I missed out on the grace that God wanted me to be an influence, positive influence in his life. And some of us have seen the effects of a burned bridge, and it's not fun. So I would encourage you, don't give away influence even with your children. You might disagree with your children. You might disagree with your parents. You might disagree with your brother, your sister, your aunt, your uncle, your boss, your employees, your coworker. But keep your influence. Keep your stance. I think all of us should have a stance. All of us need a backbone. We all need opinions. Don't lose that. But also don't allow the opinion to get in front of the person that God's called you to love. Which means my second point, number 2, loving God and loving people is more important than proving your point. Loving God and loving people is more important than proving your point. There was a man who ran up to Jesus and he said, what's the most important commandment? And I'm surprised Jesus didn't say, it's to prove your point politically. It's to make sure everybody knows exactly where you stand on the political lines of the cultural situations we're facing. No, Jesus said, love the Lord your God with all your heart, soul, mind, and strength, and love your neighbor as yourself. Everything hangs on these two things. Love God, love people. Church, loving God and loving people is more important than proving our points. Still vote, still show up, still hold your stance, but put your Christianity ahead of your politics. Put your Christianity in front of your politics. Number 3, almost done. I know you guys are like, oh my gosh, can we finish this and get into the rest of it? But this is an important thing. You need this and I need this. Number 3, take the lid off of your compassion. Take the lid off of your compassion. It's not up to us to decide who deserves God's love. God's called all of us to love everyone, whether we think they deserve his love or not. So learn to love people the way that Jesus has loved you. How many think there's probably been some times where you weren't lovable, but Jesus still loved you? So let's walk in love. Let's show compassion. Let's take the lid off. Let's show compassion for all races, all people, all political parties, all backgrounds, all situations, even the people who are still practicing the things you disagree with. Show them compassion. If you had to walk a mile in their shoes, maybe you might understand why they are the way they are, why they're doing what they're doing. But I'm telling you, church, we should be known for our compassion more than our criticism. I'm done.